Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present our work. My name is Davy Ronald Hermanus, and together with my co-author, Prof. Sasmoko, we present paper number 97 entitled Systematic Mapping Review of Agentic AI in Education from AI Teaching Assistants to Human in the Loop feedback Agents. The purpose of this study is not simply to review another collection of artificial intelligence paper. Instead, we want to create a map of rapidly developing research field to identify what currently exists, what major research clusters are emerging, and particularly where trustworthy human-in-the-loop feedback agents may fit within the future of smart educations. Our review started from 1,861 records, which were progressively cleaned and synthesized into a final core set of 40 studies. We also see this study as a foundations of our continuing research program in smart educations. Why is this mapping review necessary? The problem is actually not a lack of research on AI in education. The problem is almost the opposite. The field is growing very quickly, but its terminology and research directions are becoming increasingly fragmented. We find terms such as AI tutors, teaching assistants with back agent, retrieval augmented generator-based learning tools, pedagogical agents, and multi-agent system. In many cases, similar ideas are described using different labels. At the same time, the evidence is also mixed. Some publications are conceptual papers, some describe prototypes, and others report empirical evaluations. This creates a positioning problem for researchers. Without a systematic map of the field, it becomes difficult to identify what has already been established, where remains weak, and where a new prototype can provide a genuine research contributions. For this reason, our main objective is to turn this rapidly growing literatures into readable research map. We organize the study around four research questions. First, what type of agentic AI systems are being studied in education? Second, what learning and teaching function do this system support? Third, what research methods and types of evidence are being used to evaluate them? And fourth, what remaining gaps point toward future human in the loop feedback agents? The practical fortification behind this question is important. We are particularly interested in how this mapping can support a stronger future research program on trustworthy AI feedback system in which lecturer remains involved in supervision and decision making. So the objective is not autonomous AI replacing educators. This objective is to understand how agentic AI can support educational processes while maintaining meaningful human control. Now I will briefly explain our review process. We began with 1,861 exported records obtained from four final source streams. After the duplications and year-based cleaning, 1,739 records remained. We then conduct title and abstract screening using a minimal relevance threshold, which reduced to set to 100 candidate studies. Finally, using our scoring criteria together with balancing, we selected 40 studies as the final score set for synthesis. The principle behind this process is transparency. Every reduction in the number of papers should be explainable. We therefore treat the screening funnel not merely as a filtering mechanism, but as part of the methodological evidence of the study. The final synthesis is therefore based on deliberately selected and traceable resource corpus. An important point is that we did not select the final 40 papers simply by taking the highest numerical scores. The core study scoring considered eight criteria. This included agentic AI relevance, educational relevance, relevance to our broader research program, methodological quality, strength of findings, gap of novelty, potential, source quality, and recency. However, we also maintain cultural balance. This means that we wanted to the final set to represent the intellectuals structure of the field rather than allowing one highly populated topic to dominate the review. The objective was therefore not only a quantity of ranking, uh, it was to obtain a sufficiently representative set of studies that could reveal both established areas and emerging direction with agentic AI for education. From the final synthesis, we identified five major research clusters. The first cluster is theory and conceptual foundation. These studies help define agentic AI, review the field, and establish conceptual boundaries. The second cluster is feedback, assessment, and intelligent tutoring system. These represent one of the major application areas of AI for learning support. The third cluster is impact of collaboration, including research on learning outcomes, workload interaction, engagement, and the effect of using AI-supported education system. The fourth cluster is trust and governance. This includes privacy, accountability, teaching agency, human oversight, and responsible AI. And the fifth cluster is agentic architecture, including retrieval augmented generator agents, modular agents, and multi-agent learning system. The main interpretation from this mapping is that agentic AI in education is becoming a system-level issue rather than simply chatbot issue. The research question is increasingly moving from an AI answer a student questions toward how should an intelligent education system behave, interact, coordinate, and remain accountable. This leads to our conceptual synthesis. We see agentic AI as developing along a spectrum. At the low level, we have conventional chatbot style interaction based mainly on prompt and response. Beyond this, system can function as AI teaching assistants, pedagogical agents, intelligence tutoring systems, and eventually more autonomous agentic AI system capable of planning, retrieval, tool use, memory, and orchestration. But increasing autonomy also increase the importance of governance. In education environments, technological capability alone is not sufficient. The educational value of the system depends on its function, whether it provides tutoring, guidance, feedback, or assessment support. Trust, accountability, and governance therefore needs to be embedded directly into the learning workflow. This becomes particularly important when AI begins influencing feedback or evaluation. For that reason, our future work position is a center, a human in the loop feedback agents located at the intersection of feedback quality, teacher agency, and trustworthy AI. The human educator should remain capable of reviewing, modifying, approving or rejecting important AI generated feedback. The mapping also identifies six important gaps. The first concern the human role. Many systems mention human supervision, but educator control is not always clearly defined or measurable. The second gap is evaluation depth. Some prototypes are technically interesting but still lack strong user studies of evidence from actual and educational systems. The third gap concerns privacy and auditability. Data handling procedures and decision traces are frequently underspecified. The fourth gap is feedback and quality, or AI generate comments can still be generic, ungrouped, or weakly aligned with learn objective and accept assessment rubrics. The fifth gap concerns architecture clarity. Terms such as retrieval augmented generator, agents, agentic AI, and multi-agent system are increasingly used, but their actual implementation are not always consistent. And the sixth gap is reproducibility. Source procedures, screening decisions, coding schemes, and prototype material are not always shared with sufficient detail. Together, these gaps provide the justification for future resource or trustworthy, rubric guided, and human supervised feedback agents. Reproducibility is therefore an important part of our work. For the new review process, we believe researchers should share materials such as the final source research, strings, copies, export metadata, the duplication record, title, and abstract screening, the decisions, the scoring rubric, and the final list of 40 care study. For the system, the synthesis process useful producibility materials include the coding matrix cluster definition. This summarize research gap table figures and supporting documents. This material can then be organized as repository together with readme file and persistent identifier such as another DOI. Our position is simple. Sharing the review process is important as sharing the final conclusion. Reproducibility allows other researchers to understand not only what we conclude, but also how those conclusions were produced. To conclude, this systematic mapping review shows that agentic AI in education is moving from isolated AI tools toward governed learning workflow. Although the research field is broad, we found that it can be meaningfully organized into five major clusters: theory and conceptual foundation, feedback, assessment, and intelligent tutoring systems, impact and collaboration, trust and governance, and agentic architecture. Among these areas, trust, governance, and agentic architecture are becoming increasingly important as educational AI systems gain greater autonomy. Our mapping also indicates that a clear direction for future research, developing human-in-the-loop feedback agent that combine AI capability with lecturer supervision, trustworthy operation, and high-quality education feedback. In this perspective, the goal is not to remove the educator from the learning process. Instead, the goal is to design a system that strengthens educational decision making while keeping meaningfully agency at the center. Thank you very much for your attention. I welcome your questions and discussion.